Welcome to Cloud on Air live webinars from Google Cloud. My name is Gwendolyn Stripling, and I am a machine learning and artificial intelligence technical curriculum developer here at Google Cloud. You're watching a hands-on lab session as part of the Data, Machine Learning, and AI Quest. So whenever you need to run Apache Spark or Hadoop jobs, Dataproc is the best solution. Because while you can use Dataproc from the Google Cloud Console GUI, I am excited to share with you today how to work with Dataproc from the command line. Coming up, I'll go through an overview of Dataproc, and then I'll do a lab. You can ask questions anytime by submitting them in the box below this screen. We have Googlers on standby to answer them, so let's get started. I will start by providing you with a high-level overview of Dataproc. Next, I will show you how to access this session's hands-on lab. And after that, I will walk through a demo of the lab for you. So with Dataproc, enterprises get a fully managed, purpose-built cluster that can auto-scale to support any data or analytics processing job. You can use Dataproc to run Apache Spark clusters on Google Cloud. And for those of you who are not familiar with Apache Spark is a unified analytics engine for large-scale data processing with built-in modules for SQL, streaming, and machine learning. Apache Spark can process video and speech data, IoT, sensor data, click streaming data, emails, and web pages at lightning speeds because of its in-memory engine. You can also use Dataproc to run Apache Hadoop clusters on Google Cloud as well. Apache Hadoop was born out of a need to more quickly and reliably process an avalanche of big data. So instead of using one large computer to store and process data, Hadoop uses clusters of multiple computers to analyze massive data sets in parallel. You could improve performance by actually running your Apache Hadoop and Apache Spark jobs on top of multiple compute engine instances. But then you need to think about configuration and cluster management. Cloud Dataproc provides a managed Apache Spark and Apache Hadoop service. You don't need to configure and manage Hadoop itself. Dataproc uses Google's compute engine under the hood, and it takes care of the cluster management and details for you. Dataproc has built-in integration with other Google Cloud Platform services as well, such as BigQuery, Cloud Storage, Cloud Bigtable, Cloud Logging, and Cloud Monitoring for a complete data platform. For example, you can use Dataproc to effortlessly ETL terabytes of new log data directly into BigQuery for business reporting. Dataproc features include automated cluster management, auto-scaling clusters, custom images, enterprise security, and more. You can access this lab using Quick Labs, Google Cloud hands-on lab learning platform, where you will be able to access the sandbox environment of the platform. In this lab demo, you learn how to use G-Cloud to create a Google Cloud Dataproc cluster, run a simple Apache Spark job in the cluster, and then modify the number of workers in the cluster. In this lab, we'll be computing the value of pi, or 3.14, using massively parallel dart throwing. And we're going to have these workers, or VM instances, that will be tasked with randomly throwing darts at a unique circle. And the results will be collected to determine the value of pi. Let's get started. So here we are at the lab, and you can see that there's a start button here, start lab. And I'm going to just scroll down. And you should read these instructions because labs are timed and you cannot pause them. The timer, which starts when you click Start Lab, shows how long Google Cloud resources will be made available to you. So this Quick Labs hands-on lab lets you do the lab activities yourself in a real cloud environment, not in a simulation or demo environment. This is actually, a VM instance. So it does so by giving you new temporary credentials that you use to sign in and access Google Cloud for the entire duration of the lab. So go ahead and start your lab. Sign into Google Cloud Console and then click Start Lab and then follow the instructions. So I'm already signed in. I'm already authenticated. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the Google Cloud Console. I'm going to do that. You should see it fairly soon. So here I am at the console. And say I did not know, say I was here at the home page, right? And I didn't really know how to get to Dataproc because I don't really see it right here. Well, I can easily just kind of go into the search bar and click and then write rather Dataproc, and then it will show up. And then I could go right to it. And so here I am. So this is how we get to Dataproc. It's very straightforward. So here I am, and one of the first things that I need to do is activate Cloud Shell. So what is Cloud Shell? Well, Cloud Shell is a virtual machine that provides command line access to your cloud resources. So in the Cloud Console on the right toolbar, we're going to go ahead and click right here, Activate Cloud Shell. So it takes a few minutes to provision when you first do it, but if you've been doing it for a while, it's going to come up right away. So mine is provisioning, and voila, here it is. So this is my project here. I'm going to just go ahead and highlight it where it says your cloud platform project is set to Google Cloud training demos. So basically in Google Cloud Console, we have a GUI, which we can, do everything we need to do. But for the command line, for those of you who like working on a command line, activating Cloud Shell up here in the upper right-hand corner pulls up this shell window, shall we say, and now we can actually start to use some command line commands to perform our tasks. So what are those tasks again? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually list the command. So I'm going to basically say, I'm going to use gcloud and just see what the active account is. And how do I do that? Well, I'm just going to type in gcloud auth list to see my active account. So that's gcloud auth list. And you can see I'm going to just hit enter. Now, I've been signed out for a little bit, so it's asking me if it's okay to, authorize me to have access, and I'm going to go sure. I still want to use this, and please authenticate me, and so it has. Now, I'm also going to pull up the screen ever so slightly by putting my mouse right here in the middle, and then bringing it up so that I can see a little bit more, and you can too. So the gcloud auth list command gives me my credentialed account, right? And there's my email address, right? And then it takes me right back into my cloud training demos, of course, with my stripling at Cloud Shell. So this is where I am right now. So that's one really handy command. But the thing about any type of environment is you're always concerned about security. So I'm going to go ahead and check my project permissions. Now, in the lab, we do that from the GUI. So I'm going to actually bring my window down a little bit again, and I'm going to go here in the upper left-hand corner here, and I'm going to look for IAM, Identity Access Management. And then I'm going to go ahead and find IAM here at the very top of this of this list here. So that's where I am now. Okay. So what I really am interested in doing is actually, I just want to ensure that I want to confirm that I have a default service account. So I'm just going to click IAM. Okay. And then I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and you can see that I indeed do have a default service account. So if you're interested in learning more about IAM and default service accounts, please visit our website and just search for IAM or default service account. So I have an account, and I also want to make sure that I have an editor role assigned, and I do. So that means I can proceed with my work and my next task. Now, if you don't have this service account, just follow the instructions in the lab and go ahead and add a new member. It's very straightforward, and the instructions are very, very clear and documented. So let's create a so now let's create a cluster. Okay. So now we're going to create a cluster. I'm going to actually get out of identity access management. How do I do that? I'm simply going to go and search for Dataproc, right? I'm just going to go Dataproc here. And, and it should come up right away. And then I'm going to go ahead and click here. And here I am at Dataproc. Now, I just want to quickly go over what you're seeing here. You can see that I've already created some sample clusters because I wanted to make sure that during this demo that if there were any kind of gotchas, I already had something created. And as you can see, I created something on January 12th to test everything out, and I also created something today earlier. So I have two clusters. Now, in the instructions, I'm going to create a example cluster, but I already have one, so I'm going to add example dash cluster 2 to my new cluster, just to make it a little more distinct. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to actually set the region. So if you look in the lab under the create a cluster, I'm going to type the following command to set a region. So that's gcloud. Oops, let me put my cursor in there. So, but first let's go back to Dataproc, and then I'll put the cursor in the right position here. So, okay, now I'm in Cloud Shell again. Now my little white blinker is going. So that's gcloud config set Dataproc region global. So here's the command I've just put in, gcloud config set Dataproc region global. I'm simply setting the region, right? So I'm just going to hit enter now, and then we'll take a look at the output. That was very fast. My region property has been updated, Dataproc/region. So now I can go on to the next task. So I'm going to go ahead and now show you a command to create the cluster. But again, I'm going to add the a number 2 to the end of my cluster to make the cluster distinct from the one I created earlier. So the command is going to be gcloud Dataproc clusters create example. Okay, so you can see that here in my cluster window, there's example cluster 2, and it's running. There's my region, my zone, and I've been assigned 2 worker nodes as a default, right? Um, so let's just sort of summarize what I've done so far. I've gone into Google Cloud Console. I've activated Cloud Shell. I've did a gcloud auth list command to sort of see who's on the account. I set my region, and so I've now just created my cluster. All right, so let's go ahead and submit a job. I'm going to go ahead and raise the screen, and it's a very long command, and so I'm going to copy the command that's in the lab and just put it here, and it will start submitting the job, and then we'll walk through what this command actually does. So we're waiting for the output. And while we're waiting for the output, let me walk through the command. So this command specifies that you want to run a Spark job on the example cluster 2 cluster. And the class containing the main method for the job's Pi which is going to be the application itself. You also have the location of the jar file and also in the parameters that are required. So let me just kind of go back up here so you can actually see this. Let me see if I can, there we go. It's a pretty long command. So here we go. So gcloud dataproc cluster. This is where, you're saying I want to run my Spark job, my calculating Pi job on this cluster. And you're also saying that this class here contains the main method for the jobs application. And then, of course, this last line here, this line is basically the location of the jar file, which comes to here, and then comes to here actually. And then this last parameter is what you pass to the job. In this case, the number of tasks you want, and you want 1,000 of those. And so that's what that command does. So let's go down and see if we have Pi. So I'm going to scroll down first and just kind of quickly walk through the workflow really quickly. This is not in the lab, but I just want to show you that when you run this, you can see like the cluster name, you can see the job ID, you can see that it's a Spark job, you can see the status of it, you can see the history, and you can see the details as well. Now, you can see all these things here in the command line, but also in the GUI. But first, I'm going to go now. Actually, next, I want to find out, well, did this job, it said it ran successfully, but where's Pi? Where's my 3.14? So I'm going to go ahead and look for it, and it is probably right here. There. So again, this job was basically, this is a little app that's going to have virtual workers throwing darts at a circle, if you will, and just trying to calculate Pi. And so it has done it successfully. There's 3.14. So now you may say to yourself, well, okay, but that's a simple little job. I need more clusters. How do I add more clusters? Well, because you have 2 here. So how do I get to 4? That's pretty straightforward. So let's do that command. So that command is going to be gcloud. You always want to start with gcloud in this instance. Dataproc clusters update example /cluster 2, and then the number of workers. So that's num dash workers, and then you just tell them, how you tell Dataproc I want 4 there instead of 2. So I'm going to space and say 4. So that's gcloud Dataproc clusters update the cluster to 4 workers. Okay, so let's keep an eye on this one. This is example cluster 2. Let's see if it goes from 2 to 4. Okay, so go ahead and hit enter. And so you're watching, you can actually watch the GUI to see if it's going to do the update. And of course it will, but it's just great to kind of see it. It's done already. So it's right here. It's now 4 and it's updating. So you may say, well, I didn't need 4. I needed it back to 2 again because the job is not as intense as I thought. I don't need 4 workers working on it. So you can run the same command and just change the 4 to a 2. It's the exact, um, it is the same command. It's just really updating the cluster. Okay. All right. So that completes the lab, but I just want to show you a few things while you're playing with Google Cloud, which is a really cool platform. You can actually click on a cluster. I'm going to let that update. I'm going to go to the one I created today, and I'm just going to go to my cluster really quickly and just show you. You click on a cluster. You want to see what's going on. You can you can kind of scroll down here, and you can actually come monitor your jobs. You can say monitoring. Here are my jobs. Here are my instances. Right, and then you can also look at configuration and interfaces as well. So I'm going to go back to cluster details, click on example cluster that's been running for a couple of weeks. And again, same thing, right? So you have your monitoring, your jobs, your VM instances. And you can see that here, these are my jobs that I ran, and really fast. Of course, Pi, simple application, but still really fast. All right, and it's running on Spark. Okay, so if I were to go to clusters here in the upper left-hand corner where Dataproc is, I go back to this screen. If I were to go left, down one below clusters, I see jobs, and then I can see actually everything that's running. Let me take a few seconds, and here it is. I can see what was successful, and then what failed, right? And I can actually go to the logs to troubleshoot and to see what was going on there as well. Okay, so here's a diagram that visually shows that in a cluster, you have master nodes and worker nodes. That's it for the lab. Thank you for tuning in.
Are you looking to build and showcase your cloud skills? Want an easy way to show them off? You can now earn skill badges from Google Cloud to demonstrate your growing cloud competencies. Here's how it works. First, you need to join the Google Cloud Skills Challenge. This gives you 30 days of free access to Google Cloud Labs. Then, choose the track you're interested in and get started. Each track has a number of skill badges up for grabs. To earn a badge, you'll need to complete a series of Google Cloud Labs. Then, you'll need to pass a final challenge lab designed to test your skills. Once you've earned a badge, showcase what you've learned. You could add it to your resume and share it with your network. Ready to go? Join the Google Cloud Skills Challenge today and start earning your skill badges.
Welcome back. I'd like to invite you to join the Google Cloud Skills Challenge to build your cloud knowledge and earn skill badges. We've got 4 different learning tracks: getting started, data analytics, hybrid and multi-cloud, and ML and AI. Choose one, and we'll send you a unique code to Quick Labs that will give you 30 days of free access to Google Cloud Labs. You can find the link here. Have fun. Thank you for tuning in. Please visit cloudonair.withgoogle.com for more hands-on learning, training, and demos from Google Cloud experts. I'll see you next time.